Tonight, pause for a moment. Not because you are searching, but because something has already found you. Somewhere, someone with a heart so pure it startles even fate itself has reached a quiet decision. Not a loud announcement. Not a dramatic confession. A decision made in silence. They are ready to marry you. Before you dismiss this as coincidence, listen carefully. Because the reason this message found you now is not random. It never is. You've lived long enough to recognize the difference between noise and truth. And this is different. There is a person who has watched you from a distance, not with obsession, but with respect. They notice the way you remain kind even when life tried to harden you. They saw how you carry pain without turning bitter. They felt something rare the moment your paths crossed, even if only briefly. A pure heart recognizes another pure heart instantly. You may not even realize who they are yet. Or you might feel a name quietly echoing in your mind right now. That subtle pull you've tried to ignore. That was not imagination. That was recognition. Here is what will shock you. This person did not fall for your appearance. They did not fall for your status. They did not fall for your words. They fell for who you are when no one is watching. While others hesitated, calculated, or waited for perfect timing, this person made a promise internally. A promise to choose you not for convenience, but for life. They have already imagined a future that includes your calm mornings, your laughter during small moments, your silence when words aren't needed. They don't see marriage as an escape or a trophy. They see it as devotion. And here's the truth most people never hear. Pure-hearted people do not rush into love. They wait until they are absolutely certain. That certainty has already happened. Right now, something is shifting behind the scenes. Conversations you don't hear. Decisions you don't witness. Courage building where fear used to live. This person is preparing, not to impress you, but to protect what they feel. You may feel unusually restless lately, or strangely hopeful without a reason. That's because your soul senses alignment before your mind catches up. There is nothing you need to chase, nothing you need to prove. You were never meant to convince someone to choose you. You were meant to be recognized. And recognition has already occurred. Stay with this feeling. Don't rush past it. Because what unfolds next will answer questions you've carried for far too long, and the timing of it will leave you stunned. This is only the beginning. Something else is happening, and this is where most people stop listening. Don't. Because the pure-hearted don't move the way the world expects. They don't rush forward with noise. They move with quiet certainty. This person has been testing their own heart, not yours. Asking questions in silence like, can I protect them? Can I stand beside them when life is heavy? Can I choose them even on ordinary days? And every answer kept returning the same. Yes. What shocks most people is not that love appears. It's that it appears ready. This person is not confused. They are not exploring options. They are not half-present. They are steady. They have already let go of distractions that didn't align with you. They turned down paths that looked attractive but felt empty. Not because of guilt, because clarity arrived. If you felt doors closing lately, that wasn't loss. That was alignment. You may notice signs increasing, unexpected thoughts of commitment, sudden memories resurfacing, dreams that feel unusually real. These are not accidents. They are signals that two timelines are slowly merging. And listen closely to this part. The pure-hearted don't speak unless they mean it. When they choose once. That's why the moment of revelation will feel sudden to you, yet it has been building for a long time. If something in you feels seen right now, don't brush it away. Stay present with this message. Let it reach the people who are meant to hear it too. Let your presence here be acknowledged in its own quiet way. And remain connected, because what's unfolding doesn't end here. What's coming next is not just about love. It's about timing. And the timing is closer than you think. There is a reason this hasn't happened sooner. If it had arrived earlier, you might not have recognized it. If it had come later, you would have questioned it. Timing is not delay. Timing is protection. You are being shaped, not to become perfect, but to become clear. Clear enough to recognize a love that doesn't demand performance, effort, or exhaustion. The person who is ready to marry you understands something rare. They know love is not intensity. It is consistency. They have seen relationships built on excitement collapse. They have watched promises made too quickly disappear. And quietly, they chose a different path, a deeper one. You may have wondered why past connections felt almost right but never settled. Why something always felt missing, even when everything looked fine on the surface. That wasn't bad luck. That was your heart refusing substitutes. This person carries peace, not chaos. And peace doesn't shout, it arrives softly and stays. Right now, they are becoming brave in a very specific way. Not dramatic courage, not bold declarations, but the kind of courage that says, I am ready to be responsible for someone else's heart. That kind of readiness doesn't come often. You might feel a strange calm mixed with anticipation lately, as if something important is approaching, but you can't name it yet. That's because the moment hasn't arrived, but the decision already has. There will be a moment soon when things feel unexpectedly natural. A conversation that flows without effort. A realization that feels obvious only in hindsight. And when it happens, you will understand why nothing before this lasted. Because this time, it isn't a lesson. It's a choice. And when two people choose each other with clarity instead of fear, the shift is undeniable. Life begins to rearrange itself quietly, making space for what was always meant to arrive. Stay present. Don't rush ahead in your mind. What matters now is not prediction, but awareness. Because the next part of this story will change how you see everything that led you here. There is a quiet reason this connection feels different from everything before. Nothing here asks you to shrink. Nothing demands you to chase. Nothing makes you anxious about being enough. That's because the person who is ready to marry you does not see love as possession. They see it as partnership, as presence, as something that grows stronger in stillness, not drama. They've already imagined standing beside you during ordinary days, when nothing exciting happens, when life is slow, when silence fills the room. And instead of fear, they felt peace. That's how you know this is real. Most people fall in love with moments. Pure-hearted people fall in love with continuity. You didn't arrive here by chance. Every delay, every ending, every unanswered question shaped your discernment. You learned what chaos feels like so you could recognize calm instantly. You learned what inconsistency feels like so stability would feel unmistakable. This person has sensed your resilience without you ever explaining it. They noticed your patience, your depth, the way you love without needing applause. And something in them said, this is who I build with. If this message feels personal, that's because it is meeting you at the exact frequency you're ready to receive it. Some truths don't arrive loudly, they arrive accurately. Let this moment settle in you. Let it stay longer than scrolling habits usually allow. When something resonates this deeply, it's often meant to be acknowledged, shared through presence, and carried forward with intention. What's approaching will not announce itself dramatically. It will feel natural, almost obvious. And when it happens, you won't feel surprised. You'll feel confirmed. Because the pure-hearted don't rush love. They arrive prepared. And the next shift will make it clear why your heart was protected all along. There will come a moment when you realize something quietly profound. You are no longer waiting. Not because everything has happened yet, but because something within you has settled. The restlessness you once carried begins to dissolve, replaced by a calm sense of knowing. That inner shift is not imagination. It is alignment. The person who is ready to marry you has reached a place of inner stillness. They are not driven by fear of being alone. They are not motivated by pressure or comparison. They are moved by recognition of you. They understand that love is not about finding someone perfect. It is about choosing someone real, and choosing them every day with intention. This is why their decision feels steady rather than impulsive. You may soon notice subtle changes around you. Invitations appearing unexpectedly. Conversations deepening without effort. A sense that you are being gently guided rather than pushed. These are signs that resistance is leaving the path. Here is something few people talk about. When a pure-hearted person commits, the universe responds by simplifying everything else. Confusion fades. Mixed signals disappear. What is not aligned quietly steps aside. That is why certain distractions are losing their hold on you. That is why old attachments feel strangely distant now. Your heart is making room, even if your mind hasn't fully caught up yet. And when the connection becomes clear, when the truth steps into the light, you won't feel overwhelmed. You will feel safe. Because this is not about excitement that fades. It's about a presence that remains. Stay open. Stay grounded. Stay here. The story is still unfolding, but its direction has already been chosen. What comes next will feel surprisingly gentle. Not a sudden rush. Not a dramatic turn. But a soft clarity that settles in your chest and refuses to leave. This is how you will know you're close. The noise around you begins to fade. Opinions, doubts, old fears, none of them carry the same weight anymore. Your attention naturally shifts toward what feels honest, calm, and real. Toward what feels like home, even before it fully arrives. The person who is ready to marry you is not trying to change you. They are drawn to who you already are. Your silences don't scare them. Your depth doesn't confuse them. Your boundaries don't threaten them. They respect you without needing to announce it. This is rare. Most people are loud about love because they are uncertain. Pure-hearted love is quiet because it is sure. You may feel moments of reflection lately, thinking about what you truly want, not what you were told to want. That's because your heart is synchronizing with someone who values the same things: loyalty, steadiness, and emotional truth. There will be a moment when effort disappears, where conversation feels like breathing, where being yourself feels enough. That moment is not far. And when it happens, you won't need signs or confirmation from anyone else. You will recognize it instantly. Because love that is meant to last does not shake you. It grounds you. And that grounding is already beginning. As this unfolds, you may notice something subtle but unmistakable. You begin to trust again. Not blindly. Not the way you once did when hope was louder than wisdom. This time, trust grows quietly, built on observation, consistency, and emotional safety. The person who is ready to marry you understands your past without needing details. They sense where you were tested, where you learned restraint, where you chose growth over reaction. That awareness makes them careful with you, in the best way. They don't rush your heart. They don't pressure your decisions. They don't demand certainty before it's natural. Instead, they show up the same way, again and again. And that repetition, calm, respectful, steady, is what rewires something deep inside you. You may feel your guard lowering. Without effort. Your body relaxing in ways it hasn't for a long time. That's not weakness. That's safety. This connection isn't meant to consume your life. It's meant to support it. To walk beside you, not ahead of you, not behind you. Soon, you'll notice that the future stops feeling abstract. Plans begin to feel possible instead of overwhelming. Commitment no longer feels like loss of freedom, but like shared direction. That shift doesn't happen often. When it does, it means two people are standing in the same emotional season, facing forward instead of sideways. Stay present with this awareness. Let it continue to unfold without force. Because the kind of love that is prepared for marriage doesn't arrive to disrupt your life. It arrives to stabilize it. There is something important you need to understand now. This connection will not announce itself with intensity. It will reveal itself through reliability, through moments that seem ordinary at first, but later you will realize they were extraordinary because of how safe they felt. The person who is ready to marry you is paying attention in ways most people don't. They remember what matters to you. They notice shifts in your energy. They adjust, not to control, but to care. This is not accidental behavior. It comes from a heart that has already decided. You may catch yourself smiling for no clear reason, or feeling emotionally lighter, as if a long, held weight is being released. That's because your nervous system is recognizing consistency after a long period of uncertainty. Love that lasts does not stimulate anxiety. It settles it. Soon, you will notice that your standards are no longer negotiable. And surprisingly, they won't need to be. This person naturally meets them, not by effort, but by alignment. This is how you'll know you're no longer preparing for love. You're entering it. There will be no moment where you need to convince yourself. No internal debate. No confusion disguised as excitement. Just clarity. And when clarity arrives, it changes the way you move, the way you speak, the way you see your future. Stay with this awareness. Let it deepen. Because what's forming now isn't temporary. It's foundational. As this chapter continues, you may notice your patience being rewarded in unexpected ways. The waiting you once questioned now feels purposeful. Every moment that seemed delayed was refining your ability to recognize what is real. That refinement is why this connection feels so different. It doesn't demand urgency. It invites presence. The person who is ready to marry you is not rushing toward a fantasy. They are stepping into reality with intention. They understand that love is built through small, repeated choices that accumulate into trust. You may observe how easily you begin to imagine a shared life, not in dramatic scenes, but in simple ones. Shared meals, quiet evenings, mutual respect in moments of disagreement. These visions don't feel forced. They feel natural. That's because your heart already understands the direction this is taking. Soon, you will realize that effort has been replaced by ease. Where you once questioned motives, you now sense sincerity. Where you once guarded yourself, you now feel openness without risk. This is the kind of love that does not distract you from your purpose. It strengthens it. It gives you room to grow, not reasons to doubt. Pay attention to how grounded you feel. That grounding is a signal, not of stagnation, but of stability. And stability is the true foundation of commitment. What's ahead will not feel like a surprise ending. It will feel like a natural continuation of everything you've been preparing for. At this point, something within you begins to shift from reflection to readiness. You're no longer asking if love will arrive. You're quietly aware that it already has, just not in the way stories usually tell it. The person who is ready to marry you is learning how to include you in their future without pressure. They are making room, adjusting priorities, choosing depth over distraction. These choices may be invisible to you now, but they are deliberate. You may sense moments of alignment that feel almost too smooth. Conversations that land perfectly. Silences that don't need to be filled. A shared understanding that requires no explanation. These moments are not coincidences. They are confirmations. You'll notice how your energy shifts toward building rather than questioning. Toward planning rather than protecting. toward openness rather than vigilance. That's because your heart recognizes safety before your mind labels it. This connection will not demand that you abandon who you are. It will support your individuality while offering companionship. Two complete people choosing to move forward together, not out of need, but out of respect. When the realization becomes clear, it won't arrive as a dramatic revelation. It will arrive as peace. And peace is how you know. This chapter is not about temporary emotion, but lasting commitment. What you're stepping into now is not a turning point. It's a continuation of everything that was always meant to find you. There will be a moment when you look back and understand something clearly. Nothing was wasted. Every pause taught you patience. Every ending sharpened your discernment. Every quiet season strengthened your self-respect. The person who is ready to marry you carries that same understanding. They don't see your past as something to fix or overlook. They see it as proof of your depth. Proof that you didn't settle when it would have been easier to. This is why the connection feels mutual instead of uneven. You are not carrying the emotional weight alone. You are not explaining your value. You are not hoping to be chosen. You already are. Soon, you'll notice how naturally commitment becomes part of conversation, not as pressure, but as shared vision. The future won't feel intimidating because it won't be vague anymore. It will feel shaped, grounded, realistic. And most importantly, peaceful. This is not a love that needs constant reassurance. It speaks through actions, through presence, through consistency that doesn't fluctuate. As this realization settles, your confidence will shift, not outwardly, but inwardly. You'll move with quiet assurance, with clarity, with trust in what's unfolding. Because when two people with pure intentions meet, nothing needs to be forced. It simply aligns. And alignment is already happening. As everything comes into focus, you'll notice how calm replaces anticipation. Not because excitement is gone, but because certainty has arrived. You won't need to search for signs anymore. The connection will speak for itself through ease, honesty, and mutual respect. What once felt complicated now feels straightforward. What once felt uncertain now feels anchored. The person who is ready to marry you will meet you where you are, without conditions. They won't rush you forward or hold you back. They will walk beside you, matching your pace, honoring your rhythm. You'll feel a deep sense of recognition, like meeting someone familiar in a new form. Conversation will feel natural. Presence will feel grounding. Commitment will feel like expansion, not limitation. This is where understanding replaces wondering. You'll see clearly why nothing before this lasted. Why your heart resisted settling for less. Why patience became your quiet strength. Because what has arrived is not a moment. It's a direction. And when you step fully into it, you won't feel like something extraordinary happened. You'll feel like something true finally did. This is not an ending. It's the beginning of a life built on clarity, steadiness, and a love that chose you long before it needed to speak. From here, everything begins to feel intentional. Your days no longer feel like you're waiting for something to happen. They feel aligned, as if each step is gently guiding you forward. You stop questioning your instincts because they start proving themselves right. The person who is ready to marry you doesn't disrupt your peace. They add to it. Being with them doesn't drain you, it restores you. And that realization settles deeper than excitement ever could. You may notice how easily trust flows now. Not because you are ignoring caution, but because nothing in this connection triggers it. Words and actions match. Time spent together feels balanced. Space feels respectful, not distant. This is the stage where certainty becomes quiet confidence. You won't feel the need to explain this connection to others. You won't need validation. What matters is how it feels when no one else is involved. And it feels right. This is the kind of bond that doesn't fade when life becomes ordinary. It grows stronger. Because it was never built on illusion, it was built on understanding. Soon, you'll realize that your heart is no longer guarding itself. It's resting. And when a heart rests, it's because it knows it has arrived exactly where it belongs. Now, something subtle but powerful begins to happen. You start to see yourself differently. Not through doubt, not through past disappointments, but through the clarity of being truly chosen. The person who is ready to marry you reflects your worth back to you without words. In the way they listen. In the way they stay present. In the way they treat your emotions as something valuable, never inconvenient. This kind of love doesn't try to impress. It tries to understand. You may notice that old insecurities no longer have the same voice. Situations that once made you overthink now feel manageable. That's because when you are with someone emotionally steady, your nervous system learns a new language: calm. You're no longer bracing for disappointment. You're allowing consistency. And that allowance changes everything. The future doesn't feel overwhelming anymore. It feels shared. Decisions feel lighter because you're not carrying them alone. Commitment stops feeling like a question and starts feeling like a direction you're both already facing. This is where love becomes grounded reality, not imagination. Nothing here is rushed. Nothing is forced. Everything unfolds with respect for timing, growth, and truth. And as this chapter deepens, you'll realize something quietly beautiful. You didn't need to chase this. It arrived when you were finally ready to receive it. At this stage, the connection begins to feel unshakable in a quiet way. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because you no longer feel alone in facing it. Challenges don't disappear, they become manageable. Conversations don't avoid difficulty, they move through it with care. The person who is ready to marry you shows up when it matters, not just when it's easy. They listen without defensiveness. They respond without distance. Their consistency becomes something you can lean on without fear. You may notice how naturally teamwork forms. Decisions feel mutual. Support feels instinctive. Respect is not negotiated, it's assumed. This is the point where love stops being a feeling you question and becomes a foundation you stand on. Your heart doesn't race with uncertainty anymore. It feels steady, grounded, safe enough to plan, to build, to imagine a future without hesitation. And when you think about commitment now, it doesn't feel heavy. It feels right, sized. Because commitment, when it's shared, is not a burden. It's stability. And stability is what allows love to last beyond moments, into a lifetime shaped by trust, patience, and genuine partnership. Now, the pace of everything feels natural. Nothing is being pushed. Nothing is being held back. There's a rhythm to this connection that feels steady and sure, like two lives learning how to move together without losing themselves. You begin to trust the flow because it no longer feels uncertain. The person who is ready to marry you is no longer questioning their choice. They are embodying it, through reliability, through presence, through the way they prioritize what truly matters. You may notice that your mind feels quieter. The need to analyze every detail fades. Instead, you respond from a place of calm confidence. That's because clarity has replaced doubt. This is where love becomes practical in the most meaningful way. Planning feels cooperative. Disagreements feel solvable. Growth feels shared, not separate. You're no longer wondering if you're seen. You know you are. And being seen fully, without judgment or expectation, creates a sense of peace that goes beyond emotion. This is not a fleeting connection. It's not built on temporary excitement. It's built on mutual intention. And intention, when matched, carries a relationship forward with strength that doesn't need noise to prove itself. This is where everything quietly settles into truth. Not with fireworks. Not with urgency. but with a deep, unmistakable sense of arrival. You no longer wonder where this is going. You feel it in the way your body relaxes, in the way your thoughts soften, in the way the future feels open instead of uncertain. What once felt like searching now feels like standing still in the right place. The person who is ready to marry you doesn't promise perfection. They offer presence. They offer effort on ordinary days. They offer a steady hand when life is unpredictable. And that steadiness becomes your reassurance. You realize that love was never meant to feel confusing. It was meant to feel supportive, expansive, grounded in reality rather than fantasy. This is the moment where understanding replaces anticipation. You see clearly why your heart waited, why it refused shortcuts, why it protected itself until now. Because what arrived needed space to last. There is nothing you need to do except remain open to what is already aligning. No chasing, no proving, no fear, just acceptance. This connection doesn't ask you to become someone else. It meets you exactly as you are, and chooses you there. And that choice, made with a pure heart, is what transforms a moment into a lifetime. Now, everything feels complete without feeling finished. There is a sense of continuity, like this story doesn't end here, it simply becomes lived. What once felt like hope has matured into certainty. What once felt distant now feels woven into your daily life. You notice how naturally the word "we" begins to exist, not spoken loudly, not announced, but quietly present in your thoughts. Plans are no longer imagined alone. Decisions feel shared even before they are discussed. The person who is ready to marry you carries this same awareness. They are no longer preparing in silence. They are present, grounded, and ready to build something real with you, step by step, without spectacle. There is no rush because there is no doubt. You understand now that love like this does not arrive to change who you are. It arrives to stand with who you already became. It respects your journey. It honors your patience. It meets your depth with depth. This is why it feels peaceful instead of overwhelming. This is why it feels certain instead of dramatic. You are not stepping into a fantasy. You are stepping into a partnership shaped by clarity, steadiness, and mutual choice. And as this chapter fully opens, one truth remains undeniable: a pure heart has already chosen you, not for a moment, not for convenience, but for a life meant to be built, together. This is where understanding becomes embodied. You don't just know this is right, you feel it in how you move through your days. There is less resistance, less questioning, less need to prepare for disappointment. Life feels lighter, not because it is easier, but because it is shared in spirit. The person who is ready to marry you does not need to convince you of their intentions. Their consistency speaks before words ever do. Their presence is steady. Their actions are aligned. And that alignment creates trust without effort. You begin to notice how naturally you protect this connection, not from others, but from unnecessary noise. You become selective with your energy, intentional with your time, calm in your choices. This is maturity meeting maturity. Love here does not rush the future. It respects it. It allows growth without fear of loss. It understands that commitment is not a single moment, but a series of daily decisions made with care. And here is the quiet truth. When love reaches this stage, it no longer asks what if. It gently states we will. Not loudly, not dramatically, but confidently. This is not anticipation anymore. This is alignment becoming real.